Hello all, I have a new video here. It's I, the Deep Diver. And this is my last video in voice starvation. I said I was going to speed run it, and I meant that. I might have new ideas later, I might not. I can't promise, but this was going to be my linchpin. My coup de grace. My last stand for the voice. And it's over the First Amendment. I live in the United States. And it's been a wild ride, to say the least. And I have to be honest with everybody. I've had reservations for a long time about American ideas and culture. For again, a number of reasons, teach their own. But the one thing I knew America had that no other country does is the First Amendment. Other countries say they have free speech, or they have a very limited or neutered version, but America is the standard in this. There is nothing in this world or country that has First Amendment. And without it, we're just like another country. Just because I don't like what you have to say doesn't mean you should not have the right to say it. You should be able to say what you want with consequences and accountability. That's what a lot of people say. They say all these things, dumb, stupid, aggravating, rage baiting, and they get surprised. They poked the bear and they're surprised it came back to attack them. Well, that's life. If you're going to say stuff, stuff will be said back to you. And if you can't handle that, then get off the internet. Stop talking to people, which with AI, I think that's people choosing to do. They don't want differing opinions. They just want all this consensus on their own opinion, which is not possible. Opinions change. People change. Times change. Everything changes. Your opinion is not an evergreen tree, okay? It's a sapling, at best. And it's not permanent. Every 100 years, the world gets new people. It changes. People change. And it keeps it flowing. It doesn't make it boring. Because that's the one thing a lot of people are finding is boredom. There's a boredom epidemic on, which I think a lot of problems stem from, is the foundation of fatal boredom. People want to be entertaining. They want to be exciting. They want to be known as the boring one, which I think its consequences are popular-driven society, where popularity wins above all. Not facts, not logic, not reason, not critical thinking. It's popularity. And it's getting to a point where who can scream the loudest or say the wildest stuff wins. I'm not for shock YouTubing, okay? I'm not. Shock opinion is what I call it. Because words have consequences. They have consequences. A lot do. And it's fascinating to me how many people don't want freedom of speech. And with the last couple of weeks, we've seen what happens when you don't get it or being censored by cowardly censors, which I think is another series I tackle. And again, full disclosure, I have a passport. I've never been outside the United States, but I'm thinking about it a lot more and more. But I know I'll be leaving a lot of things behind. My friends, some of my family, and the First Amendment. Because it's nowhere else in the world. I go to another country, say something online, I could be hung. I could be jailed. And that's not right. We have to have these discussions. It's like when people say, don't talk about this and that. Well, guess what? Guess sometimes when you don't talk about something, nothing changes. Nothing gets better. It gets worse, usually. And it ticks me off that people don't want to make the hard questions. This is coming from a pretty decently lax YouTube channel, too. But look what happens when we don't question stuff. There's been countless times in history where a First Amendment would have saved so many people and lives if they were just allowed to speak. That's where the idea for voice starvation came from. The title, at least, was that people's voices were being starved. being pushed away for more popular, more consensus based ideas. And to be fair, mob rule is the rule. Force is force is the ultimate arbiter of power. It is the decider, the force. And the US government for a very long time has a monopoly on force internationally and domestically. And again, I think I see what this is all coming to a head. People don't like walking on eggshells. Now I think it's going to walking on landmines because one wrong thing, one unkind word, boom, you're canceled, you're shut off, and that would make us live in a world of subjectivity, which that's not good. What is truth? What is popular? What is the facts? And this can only be answered objectively. Okay? And being subjective just makes it harder to do that, if not impossible. Things I say and get my credit score banned, stop my ability to get a house, make money, eat. Are you kidding me? Who wants this? It always makes me laugh that a lot of people champion these ideas until they come for them. My grandma had a saying, no one cares about the bull chasing them until it chases them, chasing you until it chases them. And that's so true. And we can't have that. We have to have one sacred thing. It has to be the First Amendment. All things flow for it. Why is it the first one? Why is the next one after that meant to imply massive amounts of retaliation and force? These are questions I believe the Founding Fathers had in abundance, and they answered them the best way they could at the time. Not knowing of the future, but knowing they made a bedrock for the past, for history to look upon. An idea, the Constitution, the rights, the privileges. And I've seen freedom of speech trying to be taken down. It just breaks my heart. I couldn't do this. I couldn't do a lot of things. I couldn't say what I wanted. Again, without consequence. You got to have consequences. Can't just say stuff willy-nilly and get away with it. We've learning that more and more. That's not how you do things. Words have power. Words have consequences. People need to take accountability for what they say and do. But a lot of people don't want to do that. And we're seeing what happens. Massive health problems, massive wealth problems, massive governance problems, and just problems across the board from the simple idea that somebody's opinion is better or more appropriate than somebody else's. It's popular, and that's just, I don't know. I don't want to follow a herd of sheep. And when it comes to blaming, I think the idea of a false shepherd is very important in this measure, where they lead their flock astray to the wrong place. And it's getting to the point where all the information's out here. All the data to make an informed decision is out there for everybody, and people don't want to use it. I don't blame the false shepherd. I blame the sheep. I blame the people following them because they had their ideas, they had their choices, and they chose to follow. And they come back and say it wasn't. No. You can't retroactively relinquish your right to consent or accountability. It's not how it works. I've noticed that in America a lot of people think it does. And that's just sickening. You made your choice, now live with it. And do what you can from it. And that's just how it is. I've made bad decisions, but they're mine. I'm not some drone. I'm not some robot. I can't be programmed, sadly. I can learn. I can change. I can be dynamic, which I think that's the core of human nature, is being dynamic and changing. Sometimes slow, sometimes fast, and just rolling with the punches. Life doesn't give you any other options. Accept it or don't. That's it. Thank you. That'll conclude my voice starvation series. And I hope to make a book over it and get into further on these details. Have a nice day.